Hello everyone, Douglas Macbeth with a review of week 2 of our MOOC. So I hope you've enjoyed this busy week. I've been travelling, so I haven't been completely up to date with all of the discussions, but I have joined in a few of them, and interesting as always, so thanks for that. I was also wanting to reflect a bit on this week's panel discussion. But before we pick up the key points, I thought it was worth just thinking about our group of participants in this MOOC, because we've got a wide range of experience from people who are very early into their careers or not even into a contract management career, but just looking at the subject for the first time, to people who've been working in the area for a long number of years with lots of very relevant and important experience, some of which, of course, they're sharing in the discussions, which is great. But what do these panel discussions contribute to both of these groups? For the experienced ones, then it's definitely leading edge thinking. It's where the best practices and the best thinkers are going. And so there's real challenges to challenge old ways of thinking and working and consider afresh what the new world situation is going to present to us all. For the newer people, maybe some of these discussions sound a little bit too far ahead for them, but if you listen carefully, you will be able to hear mention of the other topics, issues that we've discussed in various parts of the MOOC. And so these discussions are kind of reinforcing that we're on the right path. We're talking about the right kinds of things. And so as you begin to build up your experience and your think about this a bit more, then the time will come when you'll be ready for the leading edge action. The discussion was very good this week. I particularly liked a number of the points that Paul was making. He talked about outcome-based contracts, and this is really new thinking. Relatively few people have done these yet, so there's a lot of challenge to making these work properly, particularly around the aspect of risk allocation. We talk about risk quite a lot in this course, and of course you never really allocate it, or you never remove it completely. You just have to manage its impact. So how do you do that when you've got new services to define and agree with the other party? Also, what kinds of measurement processes, reward systems, how do you make them drive the correct kinds of behaviour? And of course, we still need robust, well thought out contracts, and we talk about some of the technology aspects of that later on as well. In terms of skills, again, I like the way Paul linked together attitude, skills, and knowledge. Attitude becomes really important. If you're talking about partnering type relationships, then the attitudes on both sides of the divide have to be appropriate and supportive of one another. But increasingly, we need to have skills and the attitudes about leading, persuading, influencing. Often in more traditional organizations, you have to do that to your own people, maybe your own senior people who haven't given contract management sufficient attention so far. So that's a particular challenge, I'm sure. Skills of leading. Now, a course like this can't give you a lot other than awareness of these skills. We can't give you a lot of practice in them necessarily. But we do give you some knowledge. So there's knowledge transfer going on. But again, Paul makes a very good point that with an internet connection, you can get knowledge from all over the place. So please make use of all sources that you can get access to. And again, a lot of emphasis on commercial awareness to make these new contracts better, more effective. But commercial awareness for the other members of the contract management team, specifiers and the influencers and the decision makers elsewhere, all need to be thinking in new, more global, more inclusive ways. So that's a real challenge to develop those kind of skills and persuade people to move down that path with you. On the technology side, Human was emphasizing a couple of key things for me. The role of approaches like blockchain to validate transactions and to make smart contracts work effectively. But also the need for standards, both in the contract terms, but also in the software, so that we can have interoperability between different sets of systems. So both parts of the discussion, very valuable. I hope you found them so. You've had a busy week. You've had a couple of exercises, one of which the survey will feed back results of next week. But I hope you enjoyed the stakeholder analysis as well. So week 3 coming up. It's been a challenge so far, but I hope you've enjoyed it enough to keep your motivation going into week 3. Good luck, and thanks again for being part of the process.